Welcome to the show. Today we have Aron Villegas. Aron's a director of coaching for Rodeo Soccer Club Youth Academy out of Melissa, Texas. Soccer hasn't just been a career for Aron; it's been a way of life. Aron's been around soccer his whole life, where he spent 9 years as a coach and has been deep in the club soccer world for the past 3 years. Aron's journey in player development started with Soccer Shots, a nationwide youth soccer company where he worked his way up from part-time coach all the way up to director of coaching over a 7-year span. Aron holds a USSFF coaching license and a bachelor's degree in kinesiology and exercise science from UT Arlington because he believes that understanding how the body moves is just as important as understanding the game. Aron, welcome to the show.
Nice. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So tell us your backstory. What brought you to where you are today? What got you into soccer in general?
Yeah, so it's obviously, the parents. They get you into it at a bright young age, 3 years old. It's in the blood. Grandfather played when he was living in Mexico, and then he moved over here to the States and everything. And so started at a very young age at 3. Obviously, that became my entire life starting from there. Uh, but as I was getting older, going to the high school, getting to high school sports, you start to realize a little bit of reality, when it comes to where you are at, when it comes to your level. There's levels to this thing. And I found out in high school, I was not a high level player. I was just the right player for certain parts of the game, but I was definitely not the guy that they pointed to and went to. So I had to use the hard work, the work ethic, and try to weasel my way into a starting 11. But I think my biggest thing from what my coaches had told me was that I just had a lot of heart and that I had a good leadership mentality. And so that I kind of tried to stay in that route and go there. And that's where I think my high school coach went ahead and told me, he's like, you'd be a great coach. Like, just you'd be a great coach. I don't know what it is. It's just that you have it. And I'm like, all right, I appreciate it. It stuck with me. Um,
Before we get into the coaching career, which I definitely want to get into, what I obviously have a huge background in baseball and softball. I kind of understand that realm a little bit more. Explain to me and to everyone else like why someone said that to you. Hey, you're not going to make it right at the high school level. Like you're not going to be able to play at that higher level. What were the things about you that was it skill? Was it speed? Was it size? Was it strength? Like what in the soccer side of things? What's that differentiator between a good high school player and a collegiate player?
yeah, no, of course, it's the technical work on the ball. So when you receive the ball, how quick is your decision making? That for me wasn't there. I had the strength, I had the height in high school, and those were the key components for me to be able to provide some sort of benefit to the team when I was on the field. Hey, Aron, you're going to be the last man of defense. Basically, make sure nobody gets to our keeper. And I was fearless when it came to it. Um, and then another thing that I just didn't have was the footwork on it, because I was just not fast. It's not in my blood. I just no matter how hard I trained, I was not fast. There was literally everybody else on the field was faster than me. I was maybe faster than one other person, and that person was our keeper. And so I heavily relied on my plyometrics, so how high I jumped, my strength, my core balance, and just booting the ball as hard as I absolutely can to get it to the front line. And so as a coach, now knowing what I know now, yeah, no, that's not what you want on your team. You want all of that and then some. I didn't have the then some. And so I come from a border town named called Laredo, and down there, high school soccer is the big thing. Whereas everything past or from San Antonio going north, it's all about club soccer. And so if, and again, kind of trying to merge the things here of what I was as a kid to what I want to do now, why I'm doing what I'm doing now is because I wanted to be able to bring what I'm learning now down to Laredo. Now, do I see myself going to Laredo anytime soon? Unfortunately, no, not anymore. But that sparked the whole passion of wanting to be like, I want to be able to give back what I didn't have to the next generation of athletes.
Appreciate that backstory. So then, um, I guess use that as a form of a segue to say, how can you, as a coach now, like what got you into coaching, number one, and then two, um, how can you better develop athletes from that speed standpoint and the ball handling and the receiving of the ball to so that they have a shot, because inevitably if they're playing a club sport, most people are spending money in the club world because they want to get to that next level for them. So multiple questions there, but
You're all good.
have at
Of
it.
course. I'll start with how the development works of it all. So right now, there's not one single coach in the soccer world that does not either borrow or steal someone else's drills and, technical work to give the players. It's a shared community and it's encouraged to steal from the ideas of others because that's how we continue the development process. Biggest thing for when it comes to the speed part of things is lots of 1v1s, and that's like offense versus defense. Literally giving players the opportunity to play somebody else, whether it's of a higher caliber, same level player, or someone a little bit less technical in a sense. Because you then, because again, not one person could predict the person in front of them's moves. Like I can't stand with the ball at my foot and predict. I know this guy's gonna go left, so I'm just gonna start going right. Like that person can easily be tricking me to go to my left when I'm a right-footed player. And it's one of those things where we try to teach these young players, hey, you have to look out for these signs, and those signs are gonna help you make a choice. It's better to make the wrong choice than be indecisive. And so one of the biggest things that we, or at least that I do in my sessions, is the first 15 minutes are reserved for technical work on the ball, basically using your footwork with the ball. How can we keep that ball basically glued to our foot? And the next 15 minutes is a 1v1 or a 2v1, where two defenders versus one attacker. Because again, we that right there is the most crucial part of it because that's what's going to set them up for the big field and make them succeed on a bigger field. Because a big 11 versus 11 field, when you have the ball, it's not a big 11v11 field. It is literally you versus someone else in a small section of that 11v11 field. So you got to work it to get past this person. Or if not, you got to make a decision on how to get your ball from your section to the next section. And so microdosing it throughout the entire session, making sure that whatever I do at the beginning, it translates to the next thing and then the next thing. And then when we go into a scrimmage at the end, it all comes together. So when I'm going and I'm trying to freeze play or tell someone like, hey, remember what we just did at the beginning of practice? When you receive the ball, read the information that's in front of you, and then make a decision. I don't need you to try to guess. I'd rather you make the wrong choice, but then I can at least, you know what? I saw why you did that. But when you just go randomly and just hit it, I won't know like why would you do that? I didn't know why you did that. And that's the question I ask the players, like, why did you do that? And it's like, oh well, I thought I could just try to get it over there. I'm like, okay, well, you hit it, but you'd never even picked your head up off the ground. So I don't know that that was your plan. If you picked your head up, went like this, and then hit the ball and then it got blocked or intercepted, hey, it was a great idea. I saw that you saw it. I understood why you did it. Boom, move on to the next thing. And so like that's the whole in at least my eyes and of course the coaches that I'm working with, like that's our ideal scenario when it comes to trying to develop speed of play, the tactical side of things with the ball at their foot, and how ideally we want to try to navigate these young players to of course be better than what I once was. Because again, I have players that are like me right now, and I'm trying to absolutely make sure they understand, do not be me. Don't turn into
Yeah.
me. We don't want to just boot the ball. We want to control it. We want to play it. All right. We want to dribble, find the open space, dribble into open space. No, you don't have an option. Hey, If you could take an extra touch to your right and make a pass, boom. Like the small details matter. And now knowing that I'm in a role where I have to do scouting and recruiting, now I at least know what I'm looking for as well, because the small details do matter.
Appreciate that. So I got you off track, but a well needed. We know we needed that one.
Mhm.
Let's go back to you were in high school. Coach is like, hey man, not this isn't long for your future,
Mhm.
but you're gonna make a heck of a coach. What happened from there? Did you start working as a coach for that high school?
So unfortunately, no. It would have been great to work for my alma mater for sure, but went straight to college down there in Laredo, and I want to make it very well known that I absolutely failed. Like I absolutely bombed freshman year of college. I think when that whole process happened and I knew I wasn't going to play soccer anymore, that started. And now knowing this was almost 10 years ago, 15 or 11 years ago, sorry. Um, Now knowing that like I went through a depressive state of like the longing for wanting to play, I like that was probably my biggest reason why I failed out of college. So when that happened, halfway through it, that's when my mother, who was living in Dallas at the time, said, "You got to get out of there. You got two options. You can go to El Paso, where I have uncles, aunts, at the time a grandparent, and just lots of family members there to surround myself with, or you can come to Dallas and start fresh." And so I chose Dallas after, of course, lots of conversations with a lot of my close people that I have in my circle. But when chose Dallas, and when I moved to Dallas, 2016, that's when I decided to be like, all right, I got to go to school because that's the only those are rules from mom. You're gonna stay on my couch. It's you work full time or you go to school part time and have a part time job. So great. Went to school, got a part time gig as a regular Smoothie King operator, or no, sorry, Under Armour operator, and then came across Soccer Shots through a link that my counselor sent me because she's like, "Oh, you played soccer, right?" I was like, "Yeah." Sent me the link, Soccer Shots, Central Dallas. Oh, okay. I mean, I played soccer. Shouldn't be too hard, right? Working with kids shouldn't be too hard, right? Applied day one and just like froze in front of them. I was like, "You, oh, wait, what do I tell them? Oh, this? Oh, all right, we're doing this." And then so yeah, 2016 started that entire roller coaster working for them. Um, and yeah, that's kind of the entryway into the soccer coaching career. So Soccer Shots, not too sure if you know too much on it, but like it's an introductory program. It is literally meant to introduce the sport of soccer to little kids ages 2 to 8 years old. And so there's three categories of them, which is like a mini, a classic, and a premier, which separates the ages. And so when I was going through the process of, learning how to coach these kids, they gave us curriculums, they showed us trainings, and we did live trainings. Here's how I knew that this was like probably the best thing for me was because we went to a park and there was only four coaches and my director. And we're like, all right, we're here for training. And my first instinct was like, oh, like they're gonna invite kids to come out and like we train them, like that's how we're gonna learn. Nope. They put cones, like orange cones, stood them there and said, "These are the kids. These are the kids. I need you to treat them like kids." Reenact exactly what it is. Man, I think that was worse than actually having kids there. I think it was so embarrassing because there's parents just walking their kids around the park and there's just all these things and we're over here yelling at cones to like keep on going and move and do high fives to imaginary people. And so what that taught me was like public speaking. Like it's like, all right, like you got to get over the fear of public speaking. And so personally, and this is a little I would like to assume advice or tip to anybody that wants to get in coaching. Soccer Shots would be a great introductory for coaches because it helps you break down that barrier of speaking in a public space. Because if you look at I'm not too sure how it is in baseball, but for like rec baseball, rec sports, they ask for volunteers. Great. Well, in a volunteer space, you'll usually see parents like holding up a phone, like, oh, like I can't, like, okay, we're doing this next, guys. And they have that fear of failure. So all they're going to do is let them play, scrimmage, or maybe just shoot on goal, do whatever a YouTube video does, but they don't know how to explain the drill, or they don't know how to do, you know, conversations with the parents about like, hey, this is what I want to do with the kids and how I'm going to develop them. And so with soccer shots, that broke that whole barrier down because we have to talk to parents. We have to talk to kids. We have to perform in front of parents to their kids. A kid's crying. How's coach going to fix that? A kid tries to run off the field. How do we go and get them? How do we get their attention? How do we maintain their attention? And so it's just all these building blocks that help build the foundation of my coaching career. So was a part-time coach for about until 2019. And then going into 2020, the owner of this franchise that was just Central Dallas let us know at the end of 2019 that he's selling the franchise. And it's going to be absorbed by one person who's going to purchase all Soccer Shots franchises around the DFW, the majority of DFW. But with that, I was like, well, that sucks. I'm about to graduate, and I was really hoping that you were going to give me a full-time job because they offered full-time coaching jobs, and I was really hoping to get one. And 2020 happened. Of course, we all know what happened in 2020. So we were out of a job, and then I had just graduated in 2020 with my degree. And so I was like, you know what? Like that coaching was fun, but I got my degree in kinesiology. Let's go ahead and go down the strength and conditioning route. And so I know I probably went way off that tangent, but like that's kind of where I'll end that part because then it jumps into like more of the director role there.
No, I think there are a couple of things I want to revisit. One is
Of course.
you said performer or performance, right?
Hmm.
Like I started my life in teaching, and learn the same thing, learn public speaking, got trained basically in public speaking, and I've always thought of coaching and teaching as that, right? It doesn't matter what your life's like or what your day's like or what's going on at home. When you walk into that classroom or you walk into that practice or that game or that dugout or whatever it is, it's like you got to go.
Hmm.
No one cares if it's a good day or a bad day. It's time to perform. And I love that you said that because I've used that. At times you're like you're an actor or an actress, like you just gotta go after it. So I love that. I love that you said that. And man, what a great way to learn and to teach a coach, right? Because there's just not enough of that out there today of coaches teaching coaches how to coach. And you had that experience, which is pretty rare. And I thought that was pretty cool and unique that they did it with fake humans, right? With
Yeah.
with codes. A great way to break the ice and to do it. So that's awesome. But man, 2 year olds to 8 year olds is super young. That's, at times like herding cats. What age are you working with now, and what age do you prefer? You had said that you really enjoy working with the youth. What's kind of that magical age of starting to train a soccer athlete?
So yeah, so right now, currently, I'm doing all ages. I think the biggest age group that I don't really work with just yet is the older boys and older girls, where it's like high school and older. So I'm not working with them as much, but I've been assistant coaching and kind of going through that process of working with that older age group currently. But we still operate and work with kids from 2 years old all the way till I would probably say like 13 right now is where my niche is like working with that age group there. So like 2 from 13 is where I'm currently working with them at this moment.
Right. And then so now you were starting to head down this path of the transition that you went from soccer shots now to your current position, right? Tell us about that transitional period and how things are different now.
Yeah, of course. So back into the 2020 mix there, they reached back out to me and I had already gotten a job as a strength and conditioning coach at a rec center with um, my intern boss that I had. He brought me on board And so I was able to be a strength and conditioning coach for them. And so when that happened, the new owner reached out to me because apparently I had the most Google reviews out of anybody in the central Dallas area, and was like, we got to try to find a way to bring this person back. And so she reached out to me and said, hey, would love to try to see if you want to come back. And I was like, you know what? I loved it. I needed the money. And I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And she offered me a full time coaching job first. So I was like, great. So I did strength and conditioning and then this all at the same time in 2020. Well, at the end of 2020, she said, hey, well, we're here now. We have purchased about 3 franchises. It spanned from the center of Dallas now all the way to McKinney and all the way to Fort Worth. And so there was this small map that I worked now turned into this big one. And she's like, "Well, I'm going to need help and I need someone to help train these coaches." And so what are your thoughts on trying to gain and earn a spot as being a director here? I was like, oh crap, I've never thought about that in my life. I was like, you know what? I love this job. I've loved the company. They've never steered me wrong. The bosses that I worked for never steered me wrong. And what she was trying to sell me from the new ownership was that we didn't take over this whole area for a profit. Like, yes, we're making our profit the way that we have to, but she's like, but we're doing it because they were on a mission. These people were on a mission. They actually own the majority of Houston soccer shots. So they wanted to take over the Dallas area, DFW, really. And um, to kind of give you more context in it, they are still actually acquiring different locations to continue growing their mission, which is just making soccer day every kid's favorite day. So we would go to daycares, we'd go to public parks and run these. And like the whole point of us we would wear bright orange. And the whole point was because when we walked into a daycare or they saw us, we needed them to point us out in a crowded room and say, "That's soccer shots. Are we playing soccer today?" Like that's what
Yeah.
we want to do today. And
Yeah.
so I love that entire process of it because again, introducing something that to me, I was thrown in a rec era, go play. Here's a ball, run, like no guidance whatsoever, just run and play. Where now I get to be like, hey, we're going to teach you how to play the sport. We're going to show you all the rules. We're going to have fun doing it. We're going to call this soccer ball your pirate ship. We're going to call those tall cones the coconut trees. We're going to go get some coconuts. We're going to go bring fish food back to our cave, which is our goal. And like, I love the entire thing of it. So I immediately said yes. And it took about 6 months for me to actually get acclimated to that director of coaching role for soccer shots in 2021. Um, and yeah, and so there was a coach that was also acquired because he also had really good reviews. And I'll call him JK. Don't know if he really wants me to say his name, but I'll call him JK. And JK um, was like, we hit it off. Like I was told, hey, I need you to go help JK. Like my boss said, hey, I need you to help JK at this park because there's 2 fields, and the other coach bailed. I'm like, yeah, of course. Well, we get to this field and we're both coaching at the same time. And like the parents just came up because me and him like came to the middle, and the parents came up. It's like, both of you just did like God's work here. Like, oh my God, you guys did amazing together. And we just started chit chatting about, the Premier League and all these other things about soccer. And he then mentioned, yeah, like I'm a coach for a club up north in McKinney. I was like, oh, okay, cool. It was called ASIS at the time. And that's gonna be a very pivotal point right there. Because I don't take that DOC role, I don't meet JK, I don't end up where I'm at right now. And so me and JK became super close friends. Some other coaches that we brought on board became super close friends. And we were like running this brand new franchise that was entire DFW amazingly. And it was by the miracle of my boss that she was able to pull all of us together, and we were able to do great things in the community and help all these daycares. Now, fast forward a little bit here, where it's 2023. I get told by JK, who has now left Soccer Shots to go full time for his club. And he's like, hey, I am growing in my age group and I need a new coach. You're great with kids. These kids are, at the time, they were 10, 9, 10. And he's like, I think because we stop at 8, I think you'd be a good candidate to like start that coaching process with 9-year olds, because again, it's a cycle. Once these 8-year olds are done, they just go and play rec or they'll go and play club soccer now. And so I was like, you know what? I have time on my hands. I've hired multiple coaches. I'm not restricted anymore. I'm not restricted to have to go coach sessions anymore. I'm training people to take these sessions on. And so then JK, say JK here, basically invited me out. I did a month trial with them and they hired me on board. And so I was coaching in the evenings right after my main job as being a director of coaching. And that's kind of when it all kickstarted. So it was like July of 2023 is when it all started. I got my first team. We were started 7v7, and then I took that exact same team another year to 9v9, and then basically two full years with the same team. Um, and that's kind of what made me want to bite my teeth into club soccer. Was like, man, like I really enjoyed the last 2 years of development because I got to see what I did at Soccer Shots was a big catalyst for me to work with these kids. And I was getting all my information from JK. He was almost like a mentor at this point to me. And then his mentor was still present. So then I would learn from him. And while I was still the director of coaching, um, it got me to a point where we grew to a certain point where there were so many coaches I had to hire. We moved into a brand new office. We were expanding exactly what we had wanted. However, and this is me speaking on a very candid front here, is it got to a point where a lot of the things I had to do as a director of coaching were burning me out. So hiring coaches, firing coaches, disciplining coaches. Like my, I guess the type of person I am is I want to try to help the situation and I want to help the person. And my boss, again, I will absolutely praise her for everything she's done, never speak a negative word about her whatsoever. But my boss was the complete opposite of me, where she had empathy, yes, but she wanted to make sure they understood that this was a business. We need them to do this. If we just start, it's like one of those things where they have to learn it before we allow it. And so if we just continuously say, look, it's okay, it's a mistake, oh, it happened again. Hey, look, we got to clean it up, da 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 da. And like if I just keep continuously like coddling them and babying these coaches, then we're not going to get a good session. We're not going to get a good session, and parents might complain, and kids might not even enjoy the session. And so one thing she taught me was just like, look, like mistake one is mistake one. There is no mistake two. Like that's the biggest thing they have to understand. There is no mistake two. You have to let them make the first mistake and then they have to try to make sure. Now, there's a difference between making the first mistake and not making the second mistake, but then it's making the first mistake, learning from it, making a completely different mistake. That's the one thing she taught me is that if they've learned and understood that how not to make that first mistake anymore, that's great. But then if it leads into another mistake, it's my job as the DOC to then say, hey, great job on that last one, but you did make the mistake now here because of XYZ. And so anyways, so with that, it was getting to a point where I was running a staff of almost 20 coaches, from 4 coaches to 20 coaches. I had 2 coordinators under me and I had 4 captains who are the people that train. So going from just being 2 directors in an office to now an entire full staff up and running and being a part of that was something amazing. I cannot ask for anything better, but it burned me out. it burned me out, and it was one thing where it took everything inside of me, everything inside of me to actually say it and, speak it out loud. But JK at the club, he was the academy director for kids ages 9 years old and younger, or sorry, 10 years old and younger. And he was stepping away. And he said, there's only one person I want to take this job. And he recommended me. And it was weird how those lines collided, because when that happened and they approached me for it, I thought, wow, like what timing? What timing? I was in the middle of a lot of things, and I felt like I was letting the company down at Soccer Shots because of me being burnt out. And it just came at the right time where I was like, I think I do need to change the scenery. I've been doing this for 7 years. So said goodbye to Soccer Shots. It was sad. It was unfortunate. But my boss, again, she was amazing. She made me a lot of the man I am today when it comes to being a director of coaching. Um, and so it was now for this new journey. And as well, club soccer, I actually took a pay cut to go do that. Um, but again, as much as we need money in the world, yes, money is not going to bring everybody happiness, but it brings you, some pleasantry, within your life. But in the moment, it wasn't about that. It was about what's next for me. Like, am I really going to stay a director of coaching for one area for my entire life? Now, granted, she offered me future roles, like, hey, maybe you can be in my position, but somewhere else. Um, and so anyway, so when I take this academy director role, um, it gets to a point where, the person that actually brought me on board was not the same person that I thought I'd be working for. I thought I was going to be working for somebody that was, he has all these accolades, massive respect for his career, but jumping from who I had as a boss to this person, massive change for me. Massive, massive change, because from her, I learned how to be a DOC, and from him, I learned how not to be. Because a lot of the things he did, it was cutthroat. Like, I don't think there was empathy there. Um, and yeah, I mean that transition there kind of helped me along
Yeah,
that way there.
let's take a quick break, but let's tap into
Of
that right
course.
when we get back of like obviously you were probably torn on what to do at that point.
Hmm. Of
So let's take a break. We'll come back to it, but I do want to revisit a couple things you said again still,
course.
which is great. Um, man, you what did you say? You can't you got to learn it before you allow it, which is something I'm going to use in my language, my lexicon moving forward. That's great. You got to learn it before you allow it. And then making soccer day every kid's favorite day. Like what a great business model. Like
Yeah.
I get that kind of like that Savannah banana feel there, right?
Hmm.
Where everyone's just like it's all about just hey, let's just go and have fun and make sure this is about the kids having fun and everything else will take care of itself after. Not about the money, not about this, not about that. Let's just go have fun. Let's just make soccer be their greatest day. And sounds like you guys accomplished that. So let's take a quick break. We'll be
Of
right
course.
back. All right, welcome back. One of the things you said right before we left was, from your previous owner, right, that you learned how to be a director, and then now you're kind of learning on how not to be. So take us from there. What did you do? You're probably uncomfortable in the situation that you're in. So, what happened from there?
Of course. So ACES was the club that I joined. That was the soccer club that I joined from JK. And it was a massive club here in North Texas. And everybody knew who they were. They had their own tournaments, they had their own fields. They had 7 soccer fields for this club, and it was just ours. And so the owner was ready to, I'm assuming, just step away. And so he sold it. He sold the club. He sold it to another organization. And this organization came in and they were international, and they wanted to try to connect the international of the European side to North Texas. And this is what they were doing. Um, and so they hired this guy that has all these accolades and has, when you look at paper on resume wise, it's like, why wouldn't you hire this person? Like,
Right.
trained and coached over there in Barcelona and Spain, came back over here, played, was a college coach, a director for this club, that club, XYZ. Red flag number one for me personally. I should have seen, and I've been taught this because I had to hire coaches. You have to ask yourself the question, why are there 4 jobs in a year on this person's resume? Red flag number one for me. So I'm hearing all these great things, but I'm not asking the right questions. Like, how long were they? What was the longest stint? And so come to find out that that person just left another club here in North Texas on bad blood. And that's the next thing. I'm like, oh, okay. But you know what, though? I'm a man of education. I want to learn, regardless of the negative feedback. Like, let me make my own assumptions here. I don't want to take somebody else's negativity and put it in within myself and then portray it on this person here. I want to get my own, grasp of the situation. So the first 6 months, he wants to change the entire dynamic of the club, the entire the entire dynamic. He's like, I don't know why they did this in the past. I don't know why they did this. I don't know why they did this. Da, 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 da. We need to start doing this. We need to start doing this. And parents were at our throats. Me, that did not. I knew a few people in the club as a coach, but now I'm like being thrusted into an academy director role where nobody knows who I am. And now they're expected to, hey, we're following this guy. And the thing is that I have a specific belief of core values that I follow as a person. And I wanted to make sure I made that very clear from the get go. So I had parent meetings, I told them what I was about, but then come to find out that all of the things that I wanted to do were the exact opposite of what my boss, in this case, what my boss wanted to do. He almost basically told me, like, hey, like, look, like, we don't want to tell them this. All right. We don't want to tell them this. We want to tell them this. And I was like, I mean, okay. I mean, are you 100% sure? Like, I don't say stuff out of my mouth unless it's 100% sure. No, yeah, it's 100% sure. Here's this. Here's a booklet of curriculum. Like, we want to do this. And I'm like, okay, this is red flag number 2 or 3, sorry, where there are clubs here, and I won't name names, but there are clubs here that I do know about that I've heard from many parents, other coaches, players even, that have a robotic feel to it because it's just the best player and that's it. We need the best player, put them on the best team, let's go compete. Whereas the club I came from was family first, development first. And before I even became a director as a coach, I was literally told to tell my parents, "Hey, be ready to be losers for a year because we are going to lose a lot." But the thing is that that's going to build a scab for the players to so they understand that, hey, we're just here to play. We need to get touches on the ball. The more games, the better. Let's play. And within that, to backtrack a little bit on my team, the first year we were losing badly. And then year 2 came and we were winning and drawing and we were moving up the ladder on our league and it showed. Then we get to when this new ownership comes, I still have that team. And so I'm also a director, but I'm also having this team. And my boss is saying, nope, you got to leave that team. You can't coach teams anymore. And I was like, how is an academy director or even a director of coaching not coaching a team? At Soccer Shots, I still coached a session or two, but that was just to keep my edge, keep it sharp.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't want me coaching at all? He's like, no, no, no. I want you starting teams as young as 3 years old. Go. And that's all they said. That's all he said. that is literally, there was no context. It was just start teams and go. And that right there is where I saw I know it's probably red flag number 4, but this was the first red flag I saw.
Yeah.
You're not even going to tell me how to do it.
So what's the what happens? Like what's the catalyst there? Like you're seeing the writing on the wall. You're like, this is not going to work out for me. So what did you do?
So I, again, was just given, I will add this context now where it's this brand new club that just came in actually upped my salary because they saw my worth on the behind the scenes side of things. I'm very organized. I do believe I have OCD. It's not diagnosed. It's just what I think I have. Everything
Good
needs to
way.
be crisp, clean, and and like I couldn't do it. The minute I became academy director, I said, I'm gonna make this Soccer Shots 2.0 on a laptop. Like that's what I'm gonna do. And they saw that worth, so they upped my salary by a lot now. And so I see the writing on the walls, and I'm like, dang, but they're paying me some pretty good money right now. And the owners also saw the writing on the wall at the exact same time. So meetings were happening between myself and the owners, and I won't get into massive nitty gritty here, but they asked me for feedback, and I told them pretty much everything I'm telling you. And I'm like, it's just weird that like it feels like I'm not being guided here. Like I'm asking questions, but it feels like I don't know what's going on here. Like I'm trying to learn the club space at this time. The only thing I know is how to download a roster, the ref fees, and the locations. I don't know about other clubs. I don't know about other coaches. I don't know how recruiting happens. I don't know how scouting happens. I don't know how any of this happens. And I'm asking this guy who has all these accolades, who has a higher level of USSF licensing than I do, like way higher. And he's not telling me anything, or he's not showing me anything. He's not guiding me. He's not doing what my other boss did to me. And so the catalyst here is now I'm like, all right, it's time to get to work. Like before before soccer shots even happened, I had to figure things out by myself. It was just me and my mom. Like I had to figure out what the next step is by myself. So I started doing my own work, my own research. I told him straight to his face, I said, I'm not dropping that team. It makes zero sense. I'm not going to drop the team. If you want me to drop the team, fire me. But at this point in time, the entire club, remember, I'm coaching 10 or I'm directing 10 U and younger, like teams. There's people that are above it where he was in control that are now coming to me because they also didn't like him as well. They were not a fan. And so I said, look, you fire me, or you let me go, or we don't work out. Like people start to leave now. And people started to leave. People started to leave. Coaches started to take teams. And the way that he went about it was cutthroat. Like he said, okay, great, leave, but your team can't leave with you. You are fired, but not your team. Your team, so in the club world, I'm not too sure if it's the same with baseball, so correct me if I'm wrong, but in the club world, you sign a 1 year contract with the club and they stay a player of that club until it ends. Coaches were willing to leave or get released as long as the team also got released. He was refusing to release those teams. He's like, nope, those are our teams.
Yeah.
Excuse me, our teams. You done. That right there immediately gave the entire impression that this is the worst person to be working for.
Yeah.
Worst person to be working for. And so as I'm still coaching my team, we're improving, 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 and I'm trying to help build the youth academy. Then JK comes back into my life here. He's always been in there. We have this thing called Friday meetings, and we're just going to Buffalo Wild Wings and getting a beer.
Yeah.
But we're Friday meeting.
Best meeting to have right there.
Exactly, yeah. And so we're having this meeting and we're talking, and then he's like, he apologized to me. He's like, I'm sorry. I should have warned you about this guy. This guy is the absolute worst. You want to know why he left all these places? Because they did not like him. They did not like him. And so my friend JK is working for a pro club named Texoma FC. So we'll come back to that, of course. But in this whole transition process of the first year of this brand new ownership, it's not ups and downs. It's literally all downs. Like it is a never ending roller coaster that is going down. And I don't know if it comes back up. And so we're losing people, we're losing players, we're losing coaches, and we're losing money. Here's the thing, all these coaches were from the old generation, the old club, ACES. And all of these coaches are like, we're dedicated to our families, we're dedicated to our players, and we're dedicated to ACES. So honestly, they were still upset of the name change. They changed the name. And they were like, you know what? It is what it is. We're going to just keep on going. And it just fell apart. Like that guy was the catalyst of that club going from one of the top clubs in North Texas to now nothing. It is basically been erased. And it's so sad because I was only a part of that club for a year and a half, 2 years. And the mentors and friends that I made at this club have been a part of that club for 10 plus years. They've even played for the club. That's how long that club was there for. And so it was unfortunate and sad to see. And it was almost like I felt sad proxy, like it was just like I felt sad for them. And I felt, it felt like the keys also fell in my hands as well. And it was like, if you can try to keep Aces alive for as long as possible, we would appreciate you, Aaron. And I tried everything. And parents were very much like, you have been doing everything. We're a big fan. And, it just fell apart all within 1 year. And to give you like the year perspective, it's like they take over in June, and that full year circle ended in May. And that's when my stint working for that new club ended. Yes, like I told you, halfway through I was like, the writing's on the wall here, and I was being told and being called to go do other stuff like by other clubs. And I was like, no, I'm gonna stick it out. And even the money at that point, even though it was good, it just wasn't worth it.
Yep.
Wasn't
So
worth
what
it.
did you learn? I mean, what are some of the things you learned in that whole process? I mean, sometimes you have to go through that in order to really, learn and to kind of take that next step. What did you learn from that process, and how has that made you a better coach or a director now?
So, pretty much communication's key. Nobody ever got fired for over communicating. And I live by that thoroughly. And it's the biggest thing that I always showed, which is also what showed ownership that that my boss at that time, he was not good at communication. And here's the
Yeah.
thing, we had Christmas parties and they would make jokes about it. They're like, we never know if we're going to hear from him. And it's just like, and I'll point out a funny story really fast about my old boss at Soccer Shots, where she would use me as the example of like certain things. Like, no matter how hard of a day it was, or no matter how upset she was at me for maybe a decision I made, the next morning it always started with good morning. Hey guys, here's this. And she had always said that she was never like that. It was like, I get straight to the point. I'll respond to you, but that message is gonna come with, what's up? What do you need? And like she praised me for that as well. And like that is what I took over there. And so communication's key is was the biggest one. Um, White lies are called white lies for a reason, and they do not work. And this is gonna sound very not my character, but if you're gonna lie so convincingly that it sounds true, because a white lie, you can poke holes in it immediately. And that is what he did. He promised and overpromised and never delivered. And he guaranteed and said, I promise this is what's going to happen. And I think I mentioned it earlier on, whereas like, I'm not going to tell or say something that's not 100% confirmed. If you're telling me to tell the parents this, I'm not going to say it. Like it makes no point. Why would I go and start a rumor at that point? Like that's what that sounds like. It's like I'm starting a rumor, and that's not true. And so those are the two biggest things. there. The other thing as well is don't hide. Like, well, why are you afraid of the public? Like, these are the people you're serving. You should be the one that, hey, I walked around those fields and I painted a target on myself in the front and back. And because in my meetings, I said, if you see me walking around, don't hesitate to wave me down, flag me down, talk to me. If I'm coaching a team, I'm not going to turn around. I'm not going to give you my 2 cents. But if you see me walking and you need to speak to me about something, walk with me. Like I talk to me. I want you to see me. And as there's a fine line of being cocky, of course, and confident. And I think one of the biggest things I knew from learning from this experience was I know the difference now. He was being cocky. I was just being confident in knowing that I was going to be there for the kids and for the parents and for the families because that's
Yeah,
what mattered.
call it servant leadership, right? Like
Mm,
you're putting service in front of everything else, and that's crucial. And darn near anything that you do,
mm.
right, is putting the other people around you first. Never fails for success if you do it that way. So kudos to you for that. Um, so that kind of like wraps up to where you are today, right? And so, um, quickly, I guess, tell us about where you're at, what you're doing now, and clearly you love where you're at.
Yeah. So we'll now go back to that pin that I left about JK working for Texoma FC.
Yeah,
Again, best friends. We've worked for very long together now. We're going on like 5, 6 years working together. And he straight up said, he's like, well, that ship is sinking, but guess what? I'm gonna throw you a lifeline. And we're in McKinney. That's the current club. We're in McKinney, the one I was working at. And he's like, if you drive 15 minutes up north, there's a little place called Melissa, and they just opened a brand new complex. Texoma is trying to expand and make a satellite. Now, Texoma FC was a pro soccer team in Texoma in Sherman, Texas, and they play for the USL. And so within this USL, there's MLS and it's like USL's like right there. So it's the players get paid. They get paid and it's just treated the same way. And so they have a youth academy and that's where he was working. And he's like, you're the only person I can see working alongside him as co-directors of that Melissa place. And so I immediately basically said, let me look at it. Let me talk to my team, the boys that I were coaching. Mind you, we had just had a great year. The development was there, and players were growing, and players were getting called up for higher level teams, and it was great. We had just won our first tournament in Fort Worth, and the boys were static. And I just got this offer to go basically move clubs. I did not want to work for this man anymore. I didn't know if I wanted to work for the club anymore. It just wasn't there anymore. And that 1 year stint of being an academy director actually catapulted me into director of coaching, back to my old title, where I oversaw and oversee the growth of a specific location. And so, to give context here, this old boss of mine that I did not like told me I could not be a director of coaching if I did not have the USSF licensing. Come to find out, that was a lie. You can be a director of coaching and not have it. I have it. I have it. I got it. I wanted to get it. But with that, me and JK partnered up again, but now as partners. And we took over Melissa. Now we work for the club. We work for Texoma FC. And since they are part of this professional league, USL, they allowed us to hold something called the USLY, USL Youth. It is a ecosystem. I think I sent you over a picture, and it's a USL ecosystem where the USLY is the starting point for a player pathway to pro. And so in this, we're able to hold tryouts and have any players that want to join us, regardless of whatever club they're a part of, come out, try out, and join us. And what ends up happening is that this team of superstars basically competes in a summer league for the USLY. Well, we won our division. And when we won that division, we were able to go to nationals. That's another catalyst in my life that is probably very important because it actually leads to what's happening right now today in a good way. But with that, that caught my eye. I'm like, oh my gosh. So you're saying that players from outside of a club, so I'm gonna give club A, club B. We'll be club A. So if a player plays for club B, remember they're signed on a contract, so they can't leave their club, and legally they can't play for another club. But because of a loophole, this club is an independent, privately owned USLY club. So that means that a player from here can play here and then go right back without breaking any rules. And that right there was like, wow, this is how we're going to connect to people. This is how we're going to grow the sport over here in DFW. And this is, I think, going to be something where players in the community are going to look for and be like, I want to be a part of that USLY because it's literally a tryout process. And if you don't make the team, you're not on the team. But the fact that you're able to play for a pro side and go compete in Tampa, Florida, like how crazy is that that you get to do that and for the low cost of $150 per player to go get tons of games in the summer. And if you win those games, you potentially then go to Tampa, Florida, which is like a whole fundraiser thing, but that's a different story, right? But
We know how to help with that.
exactly. So with that, that right there is what was sold to me. And I was like, I'm in. Like you don't have to say another word, I'm in. Like my club that I had down in Laredo Heat, was a USL club. So I technically grew up in this. So I'm like, wow, like talk about a little bit of a full circle moment here. Like now I'm able to go back into where I was able, and like it dawned on me when I made this transition. And I was like, wow, like I went I went to chase this dream of trying to provide something for the kids that that didn't that provide something that I didn't have as a kid. And now I'm at a USL club doing exactly what I said I went out to do. And I was like, wow, like who knew like that full circle moment was going to happen. But anyways, now I've been with Texoma for about a year now. Coming up on a year actually. And in the new year in January, the ownership actually had the rights to another club down in Salina, Texas. And so their dream and their goal was to create the ultimate player pathway. And that means starting from USLY to USL2 to USL1. And hopefully within the future, we're able to kind of go into that USLW, which is the women's side of it as well. And their goal was to always be like, we want to build a infrastructure and an ecosystem that literally helps players be guided into a professional setting. Now, pathway to pro is a very tricky thing because again, not everybody's going to go pro. It's the 1% of the 1% that make it, right? So this USL system and ecosystem, just because it's pathway to pro doesn't mean that it doesn't attract the college scouts. It definitely does because our USL2 team right now is currently recruiting college athletes for to play for that team. Like so it's one of those things where it works out. It works out no matter what. So yes, we're going to label it a pathway to pro, but that's if that 1 to 2 players within an entire academy makes it. And we're not spoon feeding this dream into every player's mouth or parent's mouth. It's more like we're just being realistic. And we're telling them like, look, if your player truly wants it, this is a ecosystem that you can enter and grow from it. But it's up to not only the coaches to make your player better, but it's up to your player to be better, like to work outside of the sessions that we already have. And I think that's one of those things where being my own boss of an area with one of my closest friends, we can create that candid culture of being honest and not white lying them and being like, look, like we're not going to tell you information until it's 100% confirmed. And so this is kind of, I'm in a space right now where I'm like, this is great. Like this is what I was expecting back over there. And, you know, brings us back today where that second club that they opened is now Rodeo Soccer Club, down in Salina, Texas, and it is USL 1, so the higher team. And Texoma FC went down a division to USL 2, but that's the semi-pro because we want our USL-Y players, if they're good enough, they get to go play and try out for that USL 2 team, no problem, no sweat. And they get to get minutes. It's not a paid league, but hey, you're playing grown adults. So you're showing off in front of grown adults that you're better than them, which can then strike the interest of the pro teams, USL 1, USL Championship. So that's the current, spot that I'm currently in right now where I think everything's just going amazing right now. And couldn't be more ecstatic to work for Rodeo. We're working on a lot of great things to kind of kickstart and help this ecosystem blossom into what we want it to be. But we know it's going to take time. And so we're not rushing it either. We're just making sure
Yeah,
that it's done right. We're making it sure it's done correctly. And
that's great.
honestly, there's four of us that are working to make this happen for the youth side. And so it's my boss and his assistant coach, who's also a director, and then JK and myself. And like us four, we click. We are the perfect puzzle. We click, we bounce off each other, we appreciate each other, we help each other, and we're helping everybody else. And I think it's the perfect melting pot to just help this club grow, really.
That's great.
Mm.
Awesome. So it's crazy when you do these podcasts, like how time flies, right? And
Yes.
we're kind of at that point where we probably need to start wrapping it up. So let me
Of
just
course.
give you a couple more questions. Maybe quick ones.
Mhm.
Club sports in general have just changed massively
Yeah.
over the last. I feel like it's yearly, but in the last 10 years,
Mhm.
and you've been on this in the soccer club series here for the last 10 years. What are the biggest changes that are going on in soccer right now? Based both for the good and for not so good.
So right now, the current change that's happening nationwide is the age change. So we went from if your player was born in 2014, doesn't matter, January 1st to December 31st, you play for the 2014s. That's how we phrased it.
Okay.
Um, a while they made that change a long time ago because prior it was school age. So it would go from August 1st to July 31st of the next year. So you'd be
Yeah.
under 12 or under 11. Well, they're reverting back to it. And what that does, because it was a full calendar year, now it's going to a half a year and then a half a year. You're now mixing ages and you're breaking up teams. So if I still had my 2014 team back at ASIS, I would lose half of those players. They would either go up or they would go down, just depending on which one I wanted to coach. Now, can players play up? Yes, there's no issue. There's nothing wrong with players playing up. But if we want to focus on the development, you try to keep them in their same age category. And so I think personally, I think that's a little bit of the bad, if I'm going to be honest. I'd prefer if it just stuck the way it was. It would be so much easier.
By
Um,
basically by grade level instead of age.
yeah. So I think that's the biggest change that's happening. But another thing for the good is USL is, and this is known information, is actually, I think it's in 2028. I could be wrong, but they're going to bring promotion relegation into the US culture. I personally think that's going to be phenomenal
What does
because
that mean? What does that mean?
basically, if your team, we're going to use Rodeo as the example. If Rodeo SC is in the very top division and they lose and they're last place, they get promoted or relegated to the tier below. And they have to try to win this tier to then be promoted again.
Got it.
And it's almost because I think it doesn't create a scare factor for a lot of the pro teams that are in the US. Now again, I haven't been a part of the pro side of things very long, so I don't know if I have a ground to stand on, but like if I were to give my own opinion, I just think the pro teams don't fear of it's good that they don't feel failure, but they don't fear like we're about to lose, but you know what? It's okay. It is what it is. Like we're about to lose. Like what's going to happen? We're going to get relegated? No, we're going to get paid the same millions of dollars a year and still be in the same team and, go. Like I don't think there's that drive anymore to want to be the top anymore. I think it's just there's a lot of good players that have gone through and made a team and that was it. Like I think we need some discipline here, you know? It's almost like a punishment. Like we need a punishment.
Yeah.
And so I think
Yeah.
that's happening for the good.
Got it. Good. Good. Well, wrap us up here. What are the next steps in your career? What's the 5-year plan for Aron here?
So I want to make it very well known. I have no interest on going to the pro side. I enjoy working with the youth. So I'm going to try to
Yeah.
stick it and stay with the youth. Definitely grow the academy there in Melissa. I definitely want to, I felt like I lost that sense of loyalty when I left the other club. And so my main purpose right now is to try to win back the loyalty of those that we failed at the old club. Try to hopefully see if they want to come over here in the new season. And so I just want to help grow that club and um, be able to say and sit down at a pro game and say like number 12, he played for me, USLY.
Yeah.
Like he played
So
for my team and now he's playing the professional. And I want to be able to sit down with JK because we have the same exact dream and say, that's our player. Like we put him there. Like that's phenomenal. Like they trusted us and they trusted the process and they put their nose down and they got to work and now they're there. Like that's the 5 goal dream there. But other than that, I would love to continue growing my level for the USSF licensing as well because it's levels. So I have D license right now. The next one's C, and then it goes all the way to B, and then that's it. And so hopefully,
great, man. I feel like if you continue to have that servant leadership, service before self mentality, you and JK are going to be in that situation where you're looking out at your former athlete on the professional field, and I'm positive you guys will get there. Texas is obviously North Texas area is a great community to do that in.
Mhm.
So good luck to you and
Appreciate it.
to JK as well, and finding that journey. Appreciate all your time here, and I look forward to following your future.
I appreciate it, Tony. Thank you for having me, man.
Absolutely. Take care.
Can dance, but you gotta keep it up a little something like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this.